Breath of the Wild exists at the end of the failed hero timeline. The failed hero timeline is precisely what it sounds like. It's the third possible timeline after Ocarina of Time that sees Link fall at the hands of Ganon. The game theorists break down this theory in an amazingly in-depth video. No, it's not amazing, because they leave out tons of facts.
It's so bad.
It really is. Like,
it's not.
My
mouse is disconnected. Apparently.
They do a lot of hard work with their editing and videos and try to make them entertaining. But there's a bunch of videos they make, like especially when it comes to Zelda, because we just know the details and the facts from playing the games. So we see stuff and we're like, no, like you're either misinterpreting. I can't talk. My mouth is dry.
Yeah. What I miss is when they just do science stuff and they were like, how fast can Sonic run? And they like measure and like calculate the actual running speed.
Mm-hmm.
That was like, okay, that's science. That's like, okay, I get you're backing it up with math equations and actual facts. And then the theory started getting really like whack job stuff, and that's when I unsubscribed. But anyway,
they also made
no Zelda. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, even though they have this video that's like, Breath of the Wild takes place in the Downfall timeline. Here's every fact that confirms it. And then a few months later, they come out with Breath of the Wild is in all 3 timelines. Here's the facts that confirm it. And it's like, okay, you got 2 videos stating 2 completely different things. Like,
yeah,
you can't, like, we on this channel try to not create misconceptions like that. Like, if we make a theory video or something, we usually stick to it as like, this is like factually what we think is going on, because in the videos of the theories, we're not leaving out details to disprove it or making up stuff to prove it, like Link being a descendant of every other Link. So whenever we make videos, like, you could try to debunk it, but it's like there's so many facts in there, and then there's also the things that sort of go against it that we talk about. Like, we don't leave out stuff from other stuff. So whenever we make one, we're not saying it's 100% true, or we're always right and you're always wrong. It's just that the research we do is like, it literally includes everything, which is why we have theory videos on one topic that go for like 20 minutes, because we're literally listing everything.
Each other when we come up with theories before we even write a script or actually like publish anything. Behind the scenes, we like chat with each other and we're like, what do you think of this theory? What do you think of this? We like basically fact check each other and stuff, because
and we we also have people in our Discord, which everyone can join. There's a link in the description.
Yes.
But there's a section on it with the Zelda theory, and everyone goes in there and talks about their theory. So it's like a huge group of very knowledgeable people. Like Laurulian Historian is one of the greatest like theorists that I know, and he doesn't really have his own channel. He just helps out all the other channels, like ours, HMK's, maybe HMK, I don't know, 𝐓𝐼𝐢.
He's all over the place.
Yeah.
And he slides into my DMs occasionally on Twitter. I like put out that video like when we're during the Age of Calamity demo about the map, and then he's messaging me. He's like, hey, I like put this map comparison together myself, and what do you think? And like stuff like that. And I'm like, oh well, how to do there, mister?
Yeah, like there'll be videos that I'll try to make, and then
you left me behind.
Yeah, my thing messed up
abandoned
again.
me.
This is why we gotta like move away from Discord.
I'm crap.
But Skype did this as well, didn't it?
Did it? I don't remember. It's been a while.
No, when we had Daruk on. Remember it cut out and I had to go back to it then?
It did. That's right.
But anyways, again, to end it, we're not saying our theories are 100% right and yours are wrong. You're not allowed to make them. It's just that we do so much research that, like, on what was it? The Zelda theory video we did about Hylia and the dragon break.
Yeah.
That is one of the most researched videos that I did, and I didn't even agree with the video because I had a different idea, and then Daniel explained it to me. And then I went back and did even more research and made the video, and it, like, in the video I say, like, try your best to find something that goes against this. Like, just try your best to debunk it, because it's a theory based off of everything that we see in the game, and I've sent it to like all the best Zelda theorists that I know, and no one is able to like find any holes or anything in it. So it's like,
yeah.
But then we have I have a crazy weird theory about like Majora's Mask being what was it?
Potato.
The sending like the moon to crash to Earth isn't just killing everyone. It's like that aura around the moon warps Link to that place where it's like the tree and the kids and stuff. So the theory suggests that if the aura hits the other people, it'll send them there as well. So it's not necessarily killing them, it's just like trapping them in that weird space. But that theory is like a completely out there theory that has like,
because when the moon's coming down, it doesn't say I'm gonna smush everybody. It goes it's like I consume everything.
Yeah, which is what it does to Link. And the theory is that like Skull Kid.
So is it out there?
Skull Kid doesn't want to kill everyone. He just, because the reason he's so mad and angry is like his friends abandoned him and stuff because he played tricks on them or whatever. So like the four giants are like, go away, we don't want you anymore. And then he got angry. So it's like he doesn't want to kill everyone. He just wants them to be trapped or tortured and feel the way that they made him feel.
Right.
So that's my theory on it. Because, and it's all based around that aura around the moon that like it sucks Link in. So potentially, and Skull Kid as well, it sucks him up. So potentially, if the aura hits the other people, it'll suck them up. But if they're like outside of Clock Town, where the aura doesn't touch them, then they're just dead. Like Link. If you're in like Hyrule Field or Termina Field. So, but that's probably the most out there theory that I made. So Daniel, what's the next one?
Yes, next. I hate this one. Next one. Sorry.
Someone actually suggested a theory something like this one at in our Zelda theory channel.
Oh, did they? Oh boy. Okay. Number 8 we're on already.
We'll try to go through all of these a bit quicker than we have. So
sure. Ganon and Vaati fuse together at some point. So GameFAQs user Thunder176 labors under the assumption. Is that the right use of the word labor? Under the assumption that Breath of the Wild rests at the end of the child timeline, directly after Four Swords, which is not correct. It's after Four Swords Adventure. Four Swords would be before the timeline split. After Minish Cap, before Ocarina of Time, officially.
Mm-hmm.
But anyways, that game features both Ganon and Vaati, an evil being that's more ancient than Zelda's main antagonist. So technically that's true. Vaati is from before Ganon existed, canonically, not in the real world. Thunder176 believes that Ganon and Vaati actually fuse into one being after the events of Four Swords Adventure, as is evidenced by Dark Beast Ganon's design, specifically black and purple and yellow coloring, which is reminiscent of Vaati's color scheme. This fusion would also explain the great leap in power that Ganon achieves when he becomes Calamity Ganon.
The power he gets is literally from the Triforce of power.
Also, this theory is mostly based on the colors black, purple, and yellow.
Mm-hmm.
No one else is allowed to have those colors now because those are Vaati's colors. I'm pretty sure that just like there's a lot of times that
isn't there the
black and purple are like
the
used
Oracle
in the
games
stuff, right?
I think
what about the Oracle games?
They have their village, because in the Oracle games, if you get the code from both games, you can fight Ganon. And I don't remember the color of the person or the people that are trying to resurrect Ganon in that game, the main bosses.
Right, there's Viren and Onyx.
I think one of them has purple colors as well. But I'm not sure.
I think Viren does.
And then there's the design for Ganondorf in Majora's Mask, I think. Or some other game where it's like Vampire Ganon and he's wearing purple.
I think he's wearing like black and red, but that's I think the concept art design for Four Swords Adventure Ganondorf, but we never actually see him in game.
Yeah, he just turns into Dark Link.
Yeah, for some reason.
Or Shadow Link or something like that.
Yeah. But anyways, this one just feels like super flimsy, and they're just like, giant eyeball, and it's purple. It's got to be Vaati. And that's like, purple is a sort of recurring color in the series to mean things that are kind
even
of dark.
Majora. Like, that's his whole thing.
Or evil. That's true, actually.
So, like, he could have just switched it and be like, Ganondorf got Majora's Mask. That's why he's purple.
They could have been. Purple and yellow eyes. That's Majora's Mask for you. There you go. So it just also giant eyeballs are sort of a token Zelda trope as well.
They literally went back in Majora's Mask to make it obvious where to hit by putting giant eyeballs on things.
Yeah.
And then
it's
Skyward Sword had that same idea.
True. Super flimsy. That's the issue with this. It's such a reach, it's such a leap, and you land on really flimsy particle board. You couldn't even get like a plank of wood. It's like it's just no good.
All right, so this next one. Demise is the voice Zelda hears throughout the game. And let me know in the comments, does it sound like I'm like blowing into the microphone when I talk like this? Do I need like a pop filter, or is this good? Daniel.
But continue.
No, I was asking you.
Oh, I think you sound fine.
Okay. Because I'm like leaning in really close to it. But I don't want it to be bad. Demise is the voice Zelda hears throughout the game. Redditor, Moriak the Brass, believes the disembodied voice that speaks to Princess Zelda throughout the game, the voice of the Master Sword, belongs to Demise. The Skyward Sword big battle Skyward Sword ends with Link defeating Demise, who becomes incorporeal, and is absorbed by the Master Sword, which traps him. Fi is the voice of the sword in that game, but Fi also says she would enter a sleep without end, meaning her voice would no longer speak to the outside world. Who then is speaking from the sword? This Redditor believes Demise is manipulating Zelda in an effort to escape the sword. So one crazy thing that they allow Fi to do is, in the game, there's when she's talking, she's like relaying a message from Hylia to Link, and she apparently can travel through time on her own, like Fi, the spirit in the sword, because she says that she spoke to Hylia at the end of time, or the edge of time, or something like that.
Right.
Like, she's giving you a message.
That Hylia was projecting the message all the way through the edge of time to Fi, who's in the current.
It could be, or it could be like her summoning Fi to the edge of time. And then, so like either way, there's some weird form of time travel there. And because of time travel logic, it's like Fi could be asleep now, but she also could have like went through all the stuff in the future and then came back. Or if she did go to sleep and rest in the sword, then like 100 years later she wakes up, just like she did in Skyward Sword.
Right.
Like in Ocarina of Time, or Majora's Mask is the first time the hero, or not the hero of time, the goddess of time is mentioned. Because Zelda says, "May the goddess of time watch over you," or something like that when Link lives. So it's like Fi could go to sleep, but goddess of time could wake her up, or she could wake up on her own at any time. And like Demise being sucked into the sword, I don't
think that means by any means that he could control the sword or that he could speak out from it.
Yeah, I think it's a version of how the Master Sword is used to seal Ganon or something like that. Like it's just a different version of using it as a seal. Like Demise as the imprisoned didn't exist in a physical form. It was trapped inside that weird block stone that was used to seal it. It didn't mean that he existed in it. It was just trapping him in another dimension or whatever. Like Ganondorf at the end of Ocarina of Time gets trapped in another dimension. So it could have been the same for Demise, because when he breaks free, like he's not coming from inside of it. Whenever he comes out, it's like stuck on his head. So it's like, I think it just makes, it's the key or something that seals him to another dimension. Like when Link shoves the Master Sword through Ganondorf's face, it like it allows them to seal him with the power to the Sacred Realm. And then in Wind Waker, when Ganondorf again gets stabbed in the face, he gets sealed in stone. So I think it's just the same with Demise, to where like he gets killed and he just, it doesn't trap him in the sword, it just seals him to where he needs to be. So, what are your thoughts, Daniel?
Yeah, exactly what you said. And I don't know, like the sound that the sword makes and everything, like it's exactly Fi's sound and everything. Like this one just feels like such a reach. Also, the only time Zelda hears the sword speak is after Link falls, and all the sword tells is like, "There's a way to save Link and to take me back to the Great Deku Tree." It doesn't talk to Zelda throughout the entirety of the game or through all the memories. There's only that one instance where that happens. So how could it be manipulating her throughout the entire game to escape from the sword, and then also doesn't even succeed?
Yeah, because if he could escape, then like if he could escape, the idea would be if the sword broke, the seal would break. And the sword did break, and there's no Demise.
True.
So
it just feels like such a reach. I don't know.
And
it doesn't make any sense.
By his speech at the end, like he's not trapped in the sword, because when he's reincarnated as Ganondorf, or his evil possesses Ganondorf or whatever, that's, I think, yeah, like it's the same. Like when Link dies, his spirit doesn't get absorbed by anything. It's just like later on another one is born, and then they have the spirit of the first hero or whatever. So, and then like with Hylia, she didn't get trapped anywhere. She just sacrificed herself and turned into Zelda.
Yeah.
Or was born again as Zelda. So I think it's just the same thing there. Like, because if he was trapped, then when the sword broke, he would have been let free. Like, there was the seal on the what is it? The well in Kakariko Village.
Right.
And when that seal breaks, Bongo Bongo escapes.
Sure.
And then, is there another example of like a seal being broken and then
that we really get to like visually see?
Yeah.
Not really that I can think of. No.
But yeah, I think it's like the Shikah have the seal on that place, and then he breaks free. But like that's an example. Volvagia, he's just resurrected.
Yeah, that's more of a resurrection than breaking out of a seal.
The Water Temple doesn't have it. The Forest Temple doesn't have it. Spirit Temple doesn't have it. Yeah, I guess like if anyone else can think of one where a seal's broke and a boss or a bad guy comes out, let us know. Because right now I can just think of like Demise from the Seal Weakening, and then the Shadow Temple.
In the chat here, Adam says, doesn't Breath of the Wild Zelda describe Fi in her dream in her journal? In that journal entry, I know the one he's referring to. If I'm recalling correct, it's unclear. She describes what basically is like an angelic figure trying to speak to her. But the way that she described it, I always thought it was Hylia and not Fi.
We got her right here. Fi.
Oh, yes. Because it kind of describes her as like, I don't know, the way that it's described. I always figured it was Hylia that was speaking to her using, because it like came to her in a dream and there was a golden light and all this stuff. Just the way, but it's unclear exactly.
Yeah, and it makes
so. Who knows?
it does make a lot of sense that Fi is talking to Zelda, because Zelda is the reincarnation of Hylia, and Hylia created Fi. So it's like, technically Zelda herself has the power to create another Fi.
Weird. Probably doesn't know that she does, though.
Yeah. Like, that's the whole point of Breath of the Wild. It's like, in the memories, she doesn't know how to do anything. So she's trying to find that power. So, yeah. So this next one, Daniel.
Yes. The Shikah provided the technology in Breath of the Wild, but traveled into the future to avoid dealing with Ganon. So this is another eye roll. So the idea, the Shikah and Breath of the Wild were part of the ancient civilization seen in Skyward Sword. Okay. Who traveled into the future. That's why we see so little of them in the gaps between the two games. This race mentioned in Skyward Sword, which has access to both advanced technology and time travel, sounds an awful lot like the Shikah we hear about from the era before Breath of the Wild. Therefore, the crazy theory is that the Shikah who built the Divine Beast and everything else 10,000 years ago were time travelers from the era of Hylia. This would explain why we see so few of them in Ocarina of Time. A large faction of them have skipped town, so to speak. So there's a couple issues with this, is that we know that the Shikah were around for a while. Just they're the shadow folk. They're rarely seen because they don't want to be, right? That doesn't mean they didn't exist. And the whole thing is like, they, in the history of Breath of the Wild, they built all the divine beasts and stuff, and then the monks went into the shrines and hung out there, and that's why they're like these ancient old.
Yeah, like they basically sealed themselves.
Yeah, into the shrines and stuff.
And when the hero spirit touches it, the seal shatters, and then the monks come back to life for like 10 seconds.
10 seconds just to give you the spirit orb, and then they dissipate into nothingness. But the thing is, like, they were around for that 10,000 years before Breath of the Wild to build all those things and then go into the shrines, and some of them were banished, some of them went into shrines, and some of them just went back to a more went to Kakariko and lived a more low-key lifestyle, basically. This is all in Creating a Champion, by the way. But some of them were just banished out of the land, and some became the Yiga clan as well. And but like, as far as the gap between Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild goes, like, this just seems like such a stretch, because there were no divine beasts or anything like that in that time. So it's possible that they had access to the technology, but that doesn't mean that the Shikah tribe skipped 10,000 years of history.
In Skyward Sword, like, time travel is accessible by anyone because they have the stones, but those stones only take them to like certain times. It doesn't take you to the future, it takes you to the past. And like, they could have gone into the past and stuff and like created, like, they could have created the robots or the technology in their time, and then when they time traveled to go back, they could have taken that technology with them and left it there when they came back to the present with the time stone, so that to everyone that didn't go back in time, they would be like, oh, all these robots, like, there is an ancient village here, but really it's like current technology that was just taken to the past because of the time stones.
Yeah.
Which we actually end up doing
time
that
traveler,
ourselves in that game. So like that sounds like a bizarre theory. Like they wouldn't take something back in time and leave it and change history or whatever and make it think like, oh, this always existed there. But it didn't because they time traveled and took it there. Sounds crazy. Sounds like, oh, you're just making this up in your head. But there's a bunch of times in Skyward Sword where you have to do that yourself to take something back in time. Like the easy example is the tree. Planting the tree. And then there's like a potion or water or something that you have to take for the dragon.
Right. I don't think you time travel with that one, but
there's just examples of you having to do that. So it could have been possible for the people in the current era to do that. And then to the normal people, they're just like, oh, these robots, this ancient technology, it's always existed. But really, it was just created in your time and then taken back because there's so many time stones or whatever. I forgot the name. Time shift stones.
Right.
Like it's just insane. And
there are the gates of time, and Impa is a time traveler as well, technically in that game. When past Impa comes to the present day. Right. Yeah. So, the thing is with this article or this Reddit theory and in the article is like the connection between the Shikah in those two eras is not flimsy, that's fair. But just the idea that they skipped all this history doesn't make any sense, and there's no motivation to do that.
Yeah.
And it's not like they weren't around for the calamity 10,000 years ago or
they leave out the civil war with the Shikah as well. Because Kakariko Village before Ocarina of Time was theoretically filled with Shikah, like in Kakariko Village in Breath of the Wild. But in that game, it talks about the Civil War. Or maybe it's a Link to the Past or something. But there's the war between like the Shikah and the royal family. And then like potentially like the Shikah get banished or whatever, and that goes into the theory of the Twilight Realm. Since like that's where Hyrule sends really bad people. Potentially that's where they sent
terrible solution.
Yeah. Like that it's a theory that they retconned to, instead of just killing all of the Shikah, which they did, because in the game there's like when you're in the Shadow Temple or the bottom of the well, Navi's like talking about all this horrible stuff going on, and you're literally like every room you go in is designed to torture people. Like there's the crosses and like the X's that has the chains on it and stuff. So it's like, Hylians, they killed people. And there's like the bones everywhere. Like, isn't there rooms that's just like made of skulls and bones?
There is, yeah.
So it's like
that's messed up.
Yeah, the Hyrule family or the royal family, they did kill a lot of people, but then there's also the theory that some were sent to whatever it's called, the Twilight Realm, and then in the Twilight Realm, that's why they're like sort of magical and stuff, because they're just like Shikah that went bad or whatever, and then like instead of in Breath of the Wild, sort of the same thing happens, but instead of going to the Twilight Realm, they become the Yiga whenever they defect from the tribe. And what is it? There's also the mirror thing that you have to collect at the beach that some people think sort of looks like the Twilight Seal.
Oh, in Breath of the Wild? Yeah. It's not the Mirror of Twilight, though, but
I hope you get to use it in Breath of the Wild, too.
We'll see.
Like, maybe, like, it would be amazing if, like, that's... Because everyone wants a new world to explore. So, like, it would be amazing if that was the way to explore the new world. Or, like, maybe it's a way to go back 10,000 years to when Link first fought Ganon. And then, like, you see Arbiter's Grounds, like, rebuilt and everything the way it was supposed to be, instead of under the sand. So, that would be amazing if you did that. Because then, like, A Link Between Worlds or A Link to the Past, and even Twilight Princess, it's the same... It's a second world, but it's changed. Ocarina of Time does it as well. So like the Twilight Realm kind of takes over Hyrule and changes some stuff. The Dark World's like a remixed version of Hyrule, Lorule, same thing. Ocarina of Time, it's the same world, but there's 7 years difference where like some things are ruined and some things are created. Like that house that took forever to build in Kakariko Village, where the guy's just running around in a line and it's like, you're not doing anything.
No wonder it took so long to build it.
Like, you're not being very productive.
No, he's not.
But which is really cool in Breath of the Wild. They have the same thing to where they're building a village, but you actually see it being built.
It actually makes progress. Yeah.
So like there are a lot of examples of this theory happening, but I don't think that they all just traveled to Breath of the Wild time.
No.
Like it. No.
Yeah.
Do the next one, Daniel.
The next one, I particularly despise this next one.
I love how I said we're going to make them all quick, and then I spent 10 minutes on that theory.
That's okay.
Because there were examples of that happening, where they took something to the past or the future, and obviously Link has to do that as well.
There's time travel. It just feels like such a stretch to ignore all of the other, history. But
because going by that, it would be like they're all absent between Skyward Sword and Breath of the Wild. That's why they're always absent. Like they're not there because they just went to the future.
But the thing is, they are technically around. You just don't see them.
Because it talks in, again, Ocarina of Time, where it's like, hey, there's this huge group, but now they're gone. So if they just traveled to Breath of the Wild, that group and Twilight Princess wouldn't be built. And Kakariko Village wouldn't have been built either. Because it didn't exist in Skyward Sword.
If all the Shikah were gone.
Yeah, and then Impaz and Twilight Princess. Living alone with all her cats.
Yes, that's the dream. But anyway. Number 5 here. All other games are dreams while Link is in stasis. So
someone posted this theory in our Discord.
I hate it.
And
so
I'm
much.
just like,
I'm sorry.
no.
I'm not sorry.
No.
The whole trope of it was all a dream is such a cop out.
I think Link,
it's the worst trope.
Like there are cases where Link can see events from the past or the future, kind of like Zelda does, because Ocarina of Time starts out with Link having a vision of the future.
But that's not the same as him just having some crazy dream about going on an adventure and so Link's Awakening is the only time the dream plot twist in Zelda was done right.